Hello, fellow patriots, and welcome back to Red Rights and You. I'm Tim Andrews, joined by our expert on present-day political turmoil, Mark Mosgrove. Today, we're talking about a man whose last name is burned into America's political DNA, but whose own family probably wishes they could forget him. That's Robert F. Kennedy Jr. That's right, folks, the same RFK Jr. who once made liberals swoon with his environmental activism and name recognition is now Secretary of Health and Human Services under Donald J. Trump. If that isn't the greatest political plot twist since Reagan went from Hollywood Democrat to conservative legend, I don't know what is. So how did the heir to Camelot end up exiled from his own dynasty? Well, for starters, RFK Jr. has always been a bit of a wild card. He's got more conspiracy theories than the X-Files. He once said Wi-Fi is causing chronic illness, and his own family ran political ads against him. Oh, that's got to sting. Yeah, the Kennedys love to talk about loyalty unless you step out of line. RFK Jr. did the unthinkable. He thought for himself. He questioned the COVID narrative, challenged Big Pharma, and called out government overreach. And in today's Democrat Party, independent thinking is about as welcome as a MAGA hat at a Harvard faculty meeting. And that's why they turned on him. The same people who celebrate diversity of thought showed him the door the moment he stopped parroting the party line. Fast forward to 2024, and after a failed independent presidential run, Trump saw an opportunity to appoint a guy who's been warning about government health overreach for decades to run the agency responsible for it. Now that's a power move. So what can we expect from RFK Jr. as HHS Secretary? Well, if his past statements are any indication, we might see a major shakeup in how the government handles health policy, vaccines, and big pharma influence. The question is, will he actually help drain the swamp, or is he just another outsider trying to tread water surrounded by the gators, snakes, and sharks? We'll break it all down, his history, his controversies, and what his appointment means for conservatives, liberals, libertarians, and frankly, all of us who believe government health agencies need some serious reform. So buckle up, folks. Bobby Jr. is about to make America healthy again, and we're here for it. Welcome in again, Mark. It's good to have you along. How you doing on this Mattress Day Eve? We're recording here on the day before President's Day. You know, the day where everybody officially goes out and buys a mattress, right?
Yeah. Well, we actually have snow, which I don't know about you guys, but we got some snow today.
Yeah. We're getting hit pretty good. But this thing with RFK Jr., man, what a conundrum for the Democrats. The Kennedy name is, for those of you who are under a rock or weren't born yet, basically it's synonymous with the Democrat Party. RFK Jr.'s dad was an attorney general for John F. Kennedy. Of course, we all know him and the assassination. And then RFK Sr. was assassinated as well. So that family is synonymous with the Democrat Party, very charismatic. So this thing with Trump, it's like Montague marrying a Capulet, Hatfield marrying a McCoy, or Mark, you're the Star Wars expert, like a Ewok, I guess, marrying a Wookiee, right? Yes.
Or Princess Leia kissing Luke Skywalker in that second movie, and later finding out that they're twins.
Yeah, that may be the best analogy of all, because it is a little bit uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
But Mark, tell us a little bit about the history. You've read up a little bit on RFK Jr. and his past. He's a little bit eccentric, but I really like some of his views, some of the things that he does talk about. You know what they say, today's conspiracy theories are tomorrow's headlines, right? Even the fact that long ago people were saying there were 2 shooters involved in his uncle's assassination. And now they're uncovering that maybe there were. Things that are coming to light. The more we get through all these weeds, bureaucracy, and government cover-ups, we're finding more occurred. We're seeing the truth here. So tell us a little bit about the past, a little bit about what you know, and moving forward here.
Well, what I know is, excuse me, I almost sound like Robert Jr. with my voice. And actually, there are people who find that a problem because the guy's got a throat issue. You know, that means what he says doesn't matter or whatever.
You need
But
to do the whole interview like this, Mark.
I don't know what's wrong with my
you
voice.
need to do it because it's like a reenactment. I love it.
He also has the ability to get into your body. That's what smoke his shot. I don't know what happened. He's somewhere he's sitting there going,
yeah,
using the force. And he's now in my body because now I can't talk. I mean, it's just uncanny. Anyway, the Kennedys basically, the grandfather made his money bootlegging during Prohibition. And there's been so many books written about the Kennedys, but he was 9 years old when his father was killed. And he grew up a rich kid. And like a lot of rich kids, he could do basically whatever he wanted. And he did all kinds of wild child things. And they're holding it against him that he was a heroin addict for 14 years or whatever. But I just recently read that it was from the age of 15 to into his 20s. And he's 70 years old now. And they're still holding that against him, which I don't think is fair. But he was the golden child for environmental causes, and he actively sued companies. So when he decides to team up with Trump, it is, like you said, the Montagues and the Capulets, because it's like square, round hole thing. I just wonder if he's going to last the whole 4 years, because I could see Trump and him button heads because they don't really agree about anything other than the food issue. And for that, I think it's good that he's there, because even though he's got what is considered opinions that are not mainstream, at least he's talking about it, and at least he's making an issue about it that should be discussed. But the Democrats, they're going at him really, really hard. Why? I don't know, because you would think they would want our foods and vaccines to be safer, wouldn't they?
Yeah, everything to be safer. And the big knock on him was that he is against vaccines. And he has said he's not against vaccines. He's against just throwing vaccines out there like they did with COVID without really knowing effects or side effects. They were just thrown in there, and there were a lot of adverse reactions. A lot of people did get sick. A lot of people died. And I'm going to say this firsthand, and then I'm going to shut up about it, but it's against my better judgment, because every time I bring it up, I am just raked over the coals and everything is questioned. But I have a son, my second-born son, who is autistic. He's 33 years old now. We got him the MMR vaccine whenever normal ages to get the vaccines. He was talking, he was saying a couple words. He was very, advanced for his age, actually, doing things. He was vaccinated, brought him home, and a couple hours later, he was just a blank slate. Staring at the wall, was non-responsive. And to this day, he's 33 years old now. He hasn't spoken a word. And, you can talk until you're blue in the face how that's all bullshit and everything else. Now, I don't think every person that gets the MMR vaccine becomes autistic. I don't believe that, but I don't think it takes much to trigger it. My ex-wife had Bell's palsy. She had a spinal when she had Brandon. So somehow I think his immune system may have been compromised. But I was riveted to the TV screen when they were doing the hearings, because he was talking about, oh, you've accepted this amount of money from Big Pharma, and you're the worst offender. You've accepted this amount of money. Here's the thing. Pharmaceutical companies are throughout the highest political contributions out there, and they can afford to do it. They're in the trillions of dollars. They're so rich. They get sued all the time, but $1 million lawsuit for them, Mark, is like you and I throwing out a quarter to somebody. It's nothing compared to all the money that they make in those huge profits. It's quid pro quo. when they need their favor and they're giving these guys money after money after money. For instance, when he was still young, we got a letter from a lawyer and a lawsuit had been filed. And I believe it was actually initiated or encouraged by a senator back then whose grandson had autism for these vaccines. And it was a big thing. It was getting momentum. They said, okay, you sign this. We're going to fight this thing. All of a sudden, it just disappeared. Gone. Never heard of it again. And that was just a matter of these pharmaceutical companies going, hey, you remember that time? Hey, you owe me, buddy. Even somebody with that much money, they said that the most recent studies were like 1 in 38 kids born has some type of autism. That's insane. But can you imagine having to settle? You're ruining those kids' lives, having to settle with each one of those families for $1 million, $2 million lawsuit and higher, whatever it would be. You would be bankrupt. So at that point, it's, we can absorb these little lawsuits here or there, but this we can't absorb. So you need to make this go away. And guess what? It went away. And that's just one of the ways that these Congress people and senators are making all this money. And a lot of that's going to be coming out the deeper and deeper that they dig. But yeah, that's my experience. And I know some asshole out there is going to say, oh, you're imagining things, you're this, you're that. But you always have a callous attitude towards someone when it's not your kid or somebody that's close to you. I guarantee if it was your son or your daughter out there, I'm talking to all of you, that at a young age was perfectly held, not to mention the guilt that I felt, even though I had no idea anything like that could happen. That's before all this nonsense. They weren't even talking about that. But the guilt that I have felt for my entire life for ever taking him and having him vaccinated. Imagine going through your whole life not being able to utter a word. You look at him, he looks perfectly normal, and he will follow directions and do things like that. But it ruined his life. He'll never be normal, get married, have kids, and have a normal life. If it happens to you, it's not such a conspiracy theory. You'll never convince me that that was a coincidence. I don't care. You could put a gun to my head. You will never convince me when that's my son and that happened to me personally, that's a coincidence. So that's just my experience. I know you had an experience with someone with the fentanyl, a loss from fentanyl. And so that's my experience with the vaccine. And I've never forgotten that. And hopefully something comes out and they do find it's too late for him, but maybe it'll help kids down the line. You're going to have 1 million people out there saying, oh, my kids got the MMR vaccine and they were fine. Yeah, a lot did, but there has to be another factor that leads to that. But that was a crushing blow, man. I'm hoping a lot of people that see this too. It's just another conspiracy theory. Remember we talked earlier, today's conspiracy theories are tomorrow's headlines. So hopefully they're exposed for the things that they did. We always thought that things that are happening now would never come out. Remember when we were younger, oh, that's just how government is. You can't fight City Hall. They're going to do what they do. We're helpless. And now we got somebody in there that cares enough to find out what the hell's been going on. And actually, I hate to say this word because it's such a bad word with Democrats. That word that they've never, ever had to abide by, accountability. They've never had to do that. I'm hoping that some good comes out of that. And people are saying, hey, they actually are doing something about this stuff finally. We're not helpless. We can't just sit there and watch the government put their hands in their pockets and take our money, and we just have to sit there and pretend like nothing's happening. They're actually trying to do something about it. And the big worry for me along those lines, whether it's with Kennedy or any of the appointees, is I'm sure these guys are going to do everything that they can to sabotage this and get it covered up. But I just think it's gone too far. It's starting to unravel. It's just too late.
Well, one of the things that's interesting is how the Democrats have gone hard after him. And my wife read something that someone posted on Facebook about how he's not a medical doctor. He shouldn't be in charge of health and human services. So I look up previous secretaries of that cabinet position. There's only been 3 who actually were doctors, and they all served under Republican presidents. Reagan had one, Bush had one, and Trump actually had one for less than a year, but then he resigned. So to say he's not qualified, the guy whose place he took, the guy under Biden, got his law degree in his 20s, ran for office in California when he was like 31, 32, became a congressman. He was a politician his whole career. He didn't have a lick of anything going on with medical, but he was the director. Nobody criticized him. If you took the resumes of both people, Robert F. Kennedy has done a lot. Now, the previous guy, I can't pronounce his name off the top of my head. He had experience too, but it was all in government. He was a congressman. Then he was an attorney general for California, which is funny. He was attorney general for California, but he never really practiced law because he became a congressman in his early 30s. It's a lot of fear that they're trying to promote, but it's going to be interesting because Trump is for cutting regulations, but to make food and that sort of thing healthier, you're probably going to have to add regulations. So it's going to be interesting to see how those two jive. The thing that really gets me is the plastics, the microplastics that are in our bodies, that people are dying and they're, doing scans of their brain. And I read the other day that there's like enough plastic in someone's brain that you could make a whole plastic spoon out of it.
Wow.
I don't know if that's true or not. I'm not claiming it to be true, but they're finding it in sex organs. They're finding it in hearts. People are having heart surgery and they're taking these scans and they're finding we have plastic all in our bodies. And it reminds me of what happened to the Romans. It's not necessarily why the Roman Empire fell, but they drank out of lead cups.
Mm-hmm.
And little did they know, the lead was leaching into what they were drinking, their water, their wine. And it messed up their brains. Lead poisoning. How do we know that plastics aren't doing the same thing to us? I mean, people are pretty darn weird anymore.
So
self-destructive.
Yeah, so self-destructive. I hope that's not true. I could probably do a whole dining room setting of 6 with all the plastic that's in this big body.
Well, I mean, it can't be helping. I mean, plastic is a petroleum-based product.
Yeah.
In your brain.
We're so self-destructive as
we don't need better. And like I was saying to my wife, we need to not buy things that are in plastic, like buy glass jars of jelly or whatever. But all the manufacturers have moved away from glass. There are still, I think pickles are in a glass jar and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Now, our parents' generation didn't eat that processed food in their first however many years. They were eating more of the whole foods back then. And then we were raised on processed foods, and our children are raised on even more processed foods. And now we've got more cases of cancer. We've got younger people dying of things all the time. Oh, it's definitely a contributing factor. You are what you eat. And I'm hoping that RFK can make some headway on that. But I don't know how we change our culture to move away from plastic containers. Even if you say, "Oh, I'm going to eat meat," what is the meat? How's the meat come? It's wrapped in plastic.
Yeah. I really think he should just follow along with what the rest of the administration is really talking about and trying to lead by example, and that's full transparency. If we had full transparency on what we're putting in our bodies, and it wouldn't be hard, those little labels, and nobody reads those little tiny fine print. Hell, half of us, our eyes aren't good enough to even see that. Well, you have to get out a microscope. But they should put clear labeling on there. No artificial whatever, and maybe have a stamp that are you listening, RFK? I just don't do this for free. I hope you send me a check.
And it's not the food, it's the packaging that it comes in.
Well, put a stamp on it and have a special section on the foods. And I don't think you should have to eliminate people's choices. Was it Michelle Obama that didn't want to put certain things in vending machines and shit like that. I don't think you necessarily have to eliminate people's choices, but you got to let people know exactly what's not good for you, exactly what is better, and give them options, make it clear what the options are, and let them pick for themselves. If Donald Trump wants to get a triple Big Mac and fries and shake, and I'm sure all the Democrats out there going, oh yeah, order up. But let them know that they do have choices. Some of them, they're a little different at first, but I think once you make the adjustment, a lot of people like this stuff. It's natural instead of these artificial dyes. And how did we get here? It's China importing these things, and it's sabotage, or who knows? There's so many things. We talked about fentanyl, how deadly that is. You could do that with some of these preservatives and things. People don't know what they're putting into their body. So if you want to sit there and eat arsenic all day, you know it's arsenic, you know it's going to kill you. That's your personal choice. But if you don't know, and there's things in that food that's going to kill you, then that's where I have a problem. That's where I think we need to be transparent, make that a running theme with this administration, in my opinion. Transparency, transparency, transparency. You know exactly what's going on. Maybe you have a stamp or something for foods that are all natural. There's ways to do it that make it a lot easier to read and to understand.
Yeah, but that department, isn't the CDC under that department too?
It's a really wide-reaching department.
Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah.
probably. I think they have the highest budget of any of them, to be honest with you. He's responsible for health and human services. That's a broad range. So he's going to have others there that are working for him. Somebody's going to be in charge of FDA, and then some of these other departments that are in there. So it's pretty far reaching, but I think he's the guy for it. He's quirky. He doesn't fit the mold all the time, but you got to have people in there that are going to challenge it. And that's why the Democrats, the louder they squawk, the more fit I think that person is for the job.
Yeah.
Because the bottom line with Bobby Kennedy, and this is basically about Bobby Kennedy, but we might as well talk about it. Trump, they use these excuses. It's his personality. It's how he treats people. It's this or that. But the bottom line is he is a disruptor. That's what they don't like. This country for years and years, as long as we can remember, has been told on, let's just keep the same old thing rolling. It's Democrat or Republican, but it's the same thing. Don't let the train go off the tracks. Okay. They don't need to know what we're spending our money on. They don't need to know what we're doing. They don't need to know how we're getting rich. They don't need to know why we make $80,000 a year and are worth $75 million. And we do nothing else, but we're just a career politician. They don't need to know any of this. See no evil, speak no evil, hear no evil. Just mind your own business. Don't try and buck City Hall. And for years and years, we did that because everything could be covered up with mainstream media. And I've said from the beginning, when this whole fight started with this BS administration with Harris and Biden and Trump coming in here, all it's going to take is for it to come unraveled a little bit. And then you start pulling that string, man. And pretty soon, the whole sweater is coming undone. Before you know it, everything's going to be exposed. Because you can't cover up with mainstream media anymore. There's too much going on with social and podcasts and people looking into everything and experts. It can't just be covered up. And the only thing missing was that leader that's actually going to go and say, hey, I want to find out what these people are doing too. Not a career politician, but somebody that wants to make the government better, make it more efficient, and run properly. And he's going to investigate all that. That's what we needed from the very beginning. And now people are saying, hey, we're not so helpless. We don't just have to sit on our hands and let them do whatever they want and run rampant and spend our money. We can make things better for our country. We can make things better for ourselves. So to me, that's just a breath of fresh air. Everybody says, oh, things are just going to get back to normal. I don't think so. I think the reason he's moving so fast, at least one of them, is his accomplishments are what is going to determine how this thing plays out. The more accomplishments he has, the more respect he's going to garner, and the more people are going to listen to him, not just us as Americans and people in the world, but judges, colleagues, the Democrats. Sooner or later, once all the squealing and crying and pissing and moaning stops, it's going to be, if you can't beat them, join them. That's what they're going to have to do.
What I find interesting is, I would say probably 90% of the public would say the government spends too much money. It's the deficits of 30 some trillion are too much. What about our future? Everybody agrees about that. Then someone starts to try to work on it. Oh, no, you can't cut that. No, can't cut that. No, can't. No, 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 no. So basically their position is status quo. And to me, the Dems ought to be like, yeah, we want to get this government efficient too, and we want to be partners on this. But they're fighting Trump on everything, and they need to roll with it a little bit.
Well, instead they're fighting them. They're saying, hey, why are you firing these people? These are the people that are supposed to be controlling the budget and supposed to be controlling it. Well, yeah, dumbasses. That's why they're getting fired, because they've been doing it and they're not doing anything. And as far as Congress, we have to go through Congress. You know what? You guys have had years and years and years to do it. And we're still doing all this crazy stuff. I mean, sending money to Afghanistan for DEI or Sesame Street. I mean, what the hell? You know, you guys have known this shit's been going on forever, but you didn't want to work with it. But now that he's doing something about it, and Elon Musk they're making a dent, and they're seeing what's being wasted. Now you're going to complain because it should have been done your way. You had a chance to do it your way, and you screwed it up, man.
Yeah,
you're done. You're done. All they want to do is tie it up, because now if it goes to Congress, now they just drag it out. You know how the Dems are so good at that. Just drag it out and drag it out and drag it out until it's too late to do anything about it, or they can cover up everything that's been going on, because they're all guilty as sin. That's the thing. Once they get in there and start finding out some of these people, come on, you can't tell me that Maxine making all that money, her and Pelosi, the inside stock trader, and all this money, they're being exposed. You talk about revenge. It doesn't have to be revenge. It's just facts. They're all being exposed for all the criminality, and there's some legitimate things that are going on, but a lot of those things are below board. So, yeah, it's all going to come out in the wash. Hey.
It just kind of makes me wonder, though, that, what if they had said, we're just going to cut 20% out of every department's budget, and you're going to have to figure it out, whoever's running that department. I mean, that sounds like the people would have to actually do their jobs. What are the priorities? Okay, we used to have $50 billion budget. Now we have a $40 billion budget. Okay, we need to prioritize. But the system is such that never happens, because the budget is always, if the budget's $50 billion, next year it's going to be $55 billion. And then the next year it's going to be $61 billion. They just add on the inflation increase every year, but it always goes up. It never goes down. And now it's going to go down, but they're having a hissy.
Well, I'll be honest with you, Mark. I think giving those guys any discretionary ability to make decisions, because they'll try and figure out a way to take the money out of whatever small part of the government they're not skimming off of. You can't leave it up to them anymore. That's what I'm saying. I don't want the Congress to do it. You need somebody like an Elon Musk, a guy that's already going to be a trillionaire before it's all said and done. He doesn't need anybody's money. He could give a shit less. He way overpaid for Twitter just for free speech. That's how much he believes in it. You can say what you want about the guy, but he believes in free speech and doing things the right way, and he's trying to help Americans. All of us that are paying taxes, and it's being wasted. This is a revolution. Finally, we're revolting against the things that have been going on and left unchallenged for all these years. It's kind of like the taxation without representation back in the revolutionary days, the Boston Tea Party,
Boston Tea Party, but now instead of dumping the tea in the harbor, they're spilling the tea on the wasteful spending.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's crazy, but we'll see how it plays out. I don't believe he changed his political affiliation. I think officially he's still a Democrat, right?
Probably.
I know Tulsi Gabbard, she went Republican, but I think he's
I
still
think
a
she's
Democrat.
independent, isn't she? Or did she?
No, she declared as a Republican. But it's good in a way. Maybe it's the beginning of being able to work together. I just think it's the mindset of these people. There's two groups of people. I think conservatives are a little bit more independent thinkers. And I think those on the left, everything's been ingrained, and everything they talk about on the nightly news is gospel. Everything they've heard all these years is gospel. Everything their leaders tell them, it's got to be the truth. And I think once things start to unravel and they can see that's not true, President Trump's going to try things. I think he needs to lean a little bit more on this reciprocal tariff that he's doing. I think that's brilliant. I mean, you can like or hate tariffs, but that reciprocal tariff it's fair. You're charging them the tariff that they're charging you. You're just being completely even. And so if they say it's unfair, well, that's what you're charging us. How's that unfair? Then it must be unfair for us. He's got a great staff now, finally. That first administration was on the fly. They weren't really his appointees, and he was just firing people left and right. They wonder why Hegseth's there. Hegseth's there because every general were appointed stabbed him square between the shoulders. He had to feel like Julius Caesar, man.
Yeah.
He was always getting stabbed in the back by these guys. So these people are loyal and they're smart. You can say what you want about them, but they're very, very intelligent. They're all on the same page. So it's a dangerous combination for the Dems.
We need some outside the box thinking.
Yeah.
And that's what Trump is bringing with a lot of these people. And it doesn't mean that everything that they say or want to do is viable.
Right.
Like taking over Gaza, probably not viable. But at least they're coming up with ideas, and it's creating conversation, and it's making people realize, you know what, we can probably do some things differently than what's been done. And for that, the main win with having Trump as president, because let's face it, most people, when they become president, I mean, to be fair, Clinton cut government, but he had a Republican Congress 94 contract with America, Newt Gingrich, and basically he realized if I'm not getting anything done, I'm going to kind of have to go along with the Republicans. And by the end of the 90s, we didn't have annual deficits. Then what happened? I mean, for the last 25 years, it's just,
The midterms are coming. They'll be here before you know it. So he's got to do some impressive things and continue to do them in order to get anything done and get some people in there in the midterms that can help him through the rest of the term. Because I believe if he can do that, we can keep it rolling.
Well, you know darn well that if the Democrats take over the House at the midterms, day one, someone's going to file articles of impeachment.
No doubt.
They're not going to have the votes in the Senate, I don't think, unless the Republicans lose a lot of seats. But only a third of the Senate positions are up for election then. So it's hard for the Senate to radically change parties.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always gain a couple seats, lose a couple seats. But anyway.
I think we'll gain seats if he's doing good things. Nobody's foolish enough to be like the Dems. Oh, why are the eggs still so expensive? You've been here for a month. I mean, come on, man. Everybody knows that's bullshit. But
that's not a serious critique. I mean, they were going after Bobby Kennedy about, I said about the doctor degree thing, that's bogus. And that, he looks like a 90-year-old man. Okay, that dude can do chin-ups.
Yeah.
I can't. And I know most people can't.
I can do chin downs, like when I'm falling asleep on my chair.
Yeah, so let these new people see what they can do, because they can't make it any worse than what it's been.
Yeah, no, I see some momentum. Yeah, I wish him luck. And I wish Tulsi Gabbard luck too. They're going to be the most scrutinized, them and Kash Patel. But once he gets his full complement of appointees in there, there's going to be major reckoning. He's planned everything out. He outworks everybody. Guy's got a ton of energy. So,
Well,
we'll
I
hope for
think,
the best.
yeah, I think these cabinet officers, they know they're tasked with making things more efficient. So he picked people that are going to push that way, because that's, like I said earlier, that is not nature's way. Nature's way is we've got this massive government, and every year we add to the budget,
Right.
however percent, just automatic.
Yep.
But he's got people that they're not thinking of themselves, oh, my department's got 50 billion, I need to get 60 billion in order to do what I want to do. No, I think he's got people that are going to try to make it mean and lean.
Yep. And all the departments going to be working in their lanes to make things happen. So that's what I like. One's not waiting for the other to do this or that. And, when you go into Congress, you start introducing one little bill after another. Before long, everything gets all piled up in there and nothing gets accomplished. Even all those things, Clinton did cut jobs. He did do a lot of that stuff. But a lot of the things they said they could have gotten done, most of them don't get half the stuff done that they promised. A lot of them don't get anything done that they promised, or they forget that they promised it in the first place. That's why this is encouraging to me. I'm just hoping that they finish the job. Mark, it's good talking with you again. I think I got either cobweb hanging from my forehead or my microphone here. I don't know what's going on, but it's good
Hair
talking
loss.
with you. Yeah, I'm losing hair as we speak. So, but always good talking with you, buddy.
Yes.
Enjoy
All right,
the
thanks
rest
a
of your
lot.
day. We'll get together soon. And all of you out there, I appreciate you all being here. Thank you so much. Remember, stay the course, stay strong, and stay patriotic. God bless you all. God bless America. Thank you for joining us here at Red Rights and You. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.